He makes $95,000 a year, has for the last 6 years, and somehow he can't tell you where any of it went. That's not a spending problem, that's a visibility problem. And if you're over 40, it's the single most dangerous financial blind spot you can have, because you don't have 40 years left to fix it. You've got 20, maybe 25 if you're lucky. Most budgeting advice online is written by 25-year-olds for 25-year-olds. Side hustle your way to freedom, cut the lattes, move back in with your parents. Cute. Doesn't apply to you. You've got a mortgage, maybe a kid in high school who's about to become very, very expensive, aging parents who might need help sooner than you'd like to admit, in a retirement account that, if you're honest, hasn't gotten the attention it deserves in years. But there's one rule, one framework, old enough to be tested through multiple recessions, simple enough to run in your head, and flexible enough to actually work whether you're 25 or 55. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. And today, we're not just going to explain it, we're going to show you exactly how to bend it for the second half of your financial life, when the stakes are higher and the timeline is shorter. The rule was popularized by Elizabeth Warren. Yes, that Elizabeth Warren, long before politics, back when she was a Harvard bankruptcy researcher, in a book she co-wrote called All Your Worth. Her research had studied thousands of families heading toward financial collapse, and the pattern she found wasn't reckless spending, it was invisible spending, money leaking out in categories nobody tracked, until one bad month turned into a crisis. Her fix wasn't complicated, it was almost insultingly simple. 3 buckets, 3 percentages. And today, we're not just going to explain it, we're going to show you exactly how to bend it for the second half of your financial life, when the stakes are higher and the timeline is shorter. Bucket 1. 50% of your take-home pay goes to needs, not wants dressed up as needs, actual needs. Housing, utilities, minimum debt payments, groceries, not takeout. Insurance, transportation to get to work. Sounds simple? Here's where it gets dangerous after 40. At 25, your needs are genuinely small, a studio apartment, a used car, ramen if we're honest. At 45, your needs have quietly ballooned. Factual, that starter home became a bigger home, that reliable sedan became a truck with payments. And none of it feels reckless because it happened gradually, one reasonable-sounding upgrade at a time. This is what financial researchers call lifestyle creep, and it's the single biggest reason people earning 6 figures still feel broke. Your needs bucket isn't 50% anymore, it's 65%, maybe 70%. And you didn't notice because every individual decision felt justified. Here's a need a 25-year-old almost never has to think about, supporting 2 generations at once. By your mid-40s, you might be helping cover a parent's medical bills, or quietly subsidizing a 22-year-old who just needs a little help until things stabilize. Financial researchers call this the sandwich generation squeeze, caught between aging parents and dependent kids, both pulling from the same pool of money. None of this makes you irresponsible. It makes you human. But if you're not honest about these as real, recurring needs, they'll quietly eat your 20% savings bucket before you even see them coming. The fix isn't complicated. It does require brutal honesty. Pull your last 3 months of bank statements, every recurring charge, the mortgage, the car payment, the streaming services you forgot you had, sort them into need or want, no exceptions. If your needs bucket is over 50%, you have 2 options: clear the needs, refinance, downsize, renegotiate insurance, or accept a different ratio and adjust the other 2 buckets to compensate. Because here's the truth Elizabeth Warren's research doesn't say out loud, but implies. This isn't a religious rule. It's a diagnostic tool. If your numbers are off, that's not failure, that's data. And after 40, ignoring that data is the most expensive mistake you can make. Bucket 2, 30% for wants, dinners out, vacations, hobbies, the gym membership you actually use versus the one you don't. At 25, this bucket is about fun. At 45, it's about something else entirely. It's about not burning out before you reach the finish line. Here's what nobody tells you. If you cut your wants bucket to 0 in your 40s to catch up on savings, you will not stick to it. Financial researchers who study behavior, not just spreadsheets, consistently find budgets without any joy in them fail within months. You're not 25 anymore. You don't have the patience to white-knuckle a decade of deprivation. You need a plan you'll actually follow for the next 20 years, not the next 20 days. There's a specific trap that shows up more after 40 than at any other age: guilt spending. You feel behind on savings. That guilt creates stress. Stress creates impulsive spending, the "I deserve this" purchase, which creates more guilt, which creates more stress. Round and round it goes. The fix isn't more discipline, it's permission, a defined, guilt-free 30% that you've already accounted for, so the impulse purchase doesn't feel like betrayal, it feels like budget. And now, bucket 3, the one that changes everything after 40. Neutral at 25, 20% savings is generous. Informative, compound interest has 40 years to work its magic. Even small amounts snowball into real money by retirement. Grave, at 45, 20% might not be enough. Clarifying, not because the rule is wrong, but because your runway is half as long, and compound interest needs time more than it needs amount. Analytical, say 2 people each save $500 a month at a 7% average return. One starts at 25, one starts at 45. Building, by 65, the person who started at 25 has over $1.2 million. Stark, the person who started at 45, just over $245,000. Same monthly amount, same return, 1/5 the result. Firm, that's not a moral failing, that's math. Emphatic, time is the single biggest lever in investing, and it's the one lever you can't get back. Determined, so here's how the rule bends after 40. Practical, if you're behind, and most people are, the goal isn't 20% savings, it's 25%, maybe 30% if your needs bucket allows it. Instructive, that might mean trimming wants from 30 to 25%. It might mean refinancing to shrink your needs bucket by a few points. Confident, but the principle stays the same. You're not following 50-30-20 anymore. You're following something closer to 50-25-25. Needs, wants, savings, because the math of catching up demands it. Insightful, and this is the part most videos on this topic skip entirely. Catching up isn't about sacrifice for its own sake. Clear, it's about knowing exactly how much more you need and building a rule that actually gets you there instead of a rule built for someone 20 years younger than you. Energized, so let's make this actionable. 3 steps starting today. Instructive, step 1, pull 3 months of statements and sort every dollar into needs, wants, or savings. Firm, no guessing, no rounding favorably, just the real numbers. Instructive. Step 2, calculate your actual percentages. Candid. Most people over 40 discover their needs bucket is running 60 to 65%, not 50%. Reassuring. That's not a surprise, that's confirmation of something you probably already felt but never measured. Instructive. Step 3, adjust one bucket at a time. Practical. Don't try to overhaul your entire financial life in a weekend. Clear. Pick the biggest leak, usually somewhere in wants or needs, and fix that first, then reassess in 90 days. Encouraging. Here's the one advantage you have that a 25-year-old doesn't have: catch-up contributions. Informative. Once you turn 50, the IRS lets you contribute extra to your 401k and IRA, money above the normal limits, specifically designed for people who started saving late or want to accelerate. Light. It's a small provision most people don't even know exists. Warm. But it's the system's way of saying, yes, we know some people need to catch up, and we've built a lane for it. Grounded. That won't fix everything on its own, but paired with a savings rate closer to 25 to 30%, it's a real, legitimate path to closing the gap, not wishful thinking. Gentle. The man from the beginning of this video, he's not broke, he's not behind beyond repair. Tender. He just never sat down and looked. Reflective. That's the whole secret behind the 50-30-20 rule, and why it still matters 70 years after it was first written down. Firm. It's not about willpower. It's not about being smarter than everyone else with money. Clear. It's about seeing clearly. Once you see where the money actually goes, the fixes are almost always smaller than you feared. Inspiring. You don't need 40 years to build real wealth.